New infections are shooting up again, especially here in India. In London, the military is being deployed in hospitals. Supermarkets are running out of stock again, and confused messaging is only making things worse. Let's bring you up to speed with the top developments across the globe. We start with the surge in India. Daily new infections have breached the 100,000 mark. 100,000 plus new infections in a day. 117,000 people tested positive on Thursday. There are more than 315,000 active cases in India right now. Thankfully, the death count remains low. Also, no alarming rise in hospitalization. Delhi and Mumbai are the two biggest hotspots for Omicron. In both cities, less than 20% of the beds in hospitals are occupied. Restrictions are being tightened further. International travelers arriving in India will now have to quarantine for 7 days, irrespective of their test result. In other global hotspots, the situation is grim. The British government is seeking help from the military. 200 military personnel have been deployed across hospitals in London. 40 of them are doctors, plus 160 other personnel who do not have any medical training, but they've been asked to check in on the patients and to ensure that medical stocks are maintained. The British National Health System, or NHS, is overwhelmed, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson does not want to impose any more restrictions. He's betting on England, quote unquote, riding out the current wave.
When you look at what's happening to patients coming into hospital, a large number of them, perhaps 40% of them, haven't actually been vaccinated at all. And that's increasingly true of people who go into to ICU, into intensive care. The large majority of them have not been vaccinated at all, and the overwhelming majority of them have not been boosted.
Vaccines are the difference between infection and hospitalization. The unvaccinated are easy targets for Omicron. In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte is cracking down on vaccine skeptics. He has issued new orders. If you're unvaccinated, you cannot leave home. If you do, you will be arrested. Vaccine hesitancy has supercharged the Wuhan virus. In the U.S., infections among children are soaring. A record number of children are being hospitalized now. This data is from last week. Every day, more than 600 children were admitted to hospital. They all tested positive for the Wuhan virus. As of Sunday, admissions of children had more than doubled. The new average is 1,400 admissions a day. 1,400. So every day, more than 1,000 children end up in hospitals in America. By the end of December, more than 325,000 children had tested positive in the U.S. Infection among kids has shot up by 64%. Omicron is now the dominant variant in the United States. Unfortunately, there is no vaccine for children yet. They're vulnerable, and the virus is hitting them. But in Europe, children are being sent back to school. France has resumed in-person classes. Ireland and Greece are going to do the same. The Irish government says there is, and I'm quoting, there is no public health rationale behind keeping schools shut. How will they contain infections in schools? Some European countries plan to conduct testing in schools. It is a challenging situation. It looks worse in China. The harsh lockdowns are leading to tragedies in China. 2 women have lost their unborn children. One was denied medical help because a COVID test report had expired. She was forced to wait for 2 hours right outside the hospital. She lost her baby. The second woman was refused treatment in the name of COVID protocols. Reports say she was turned away by several hospitals. Their stories led to anger. The administration promptly fired some hospital staff, and this has become a template in China. The problem, though, is systemic. China's zero COVID policy is proving to be disastrous. Elsewhere, new infections are breaking records. The World Health Organization says 9.5 million people tested positive last week. 9.5 million. That's an increase of a whopping 71%. And this number, 9.5 million, is an underestimation. There is a massive backlog of tests from the holiday period, so expect positive cases to grow in even greater numbers in the days ahead. The WHO is now dishing out new advice. They want the world to stop calling Omicron a mild variant.
While Omicron does appear to be less severe compared to Delta, especially in those vaccinated, it does not mean it should be categorized as mild. Just like previous variants, Omicron is hospitalizing people and it's killing people. In fact, the tsunami of cases is so huge and quick that it is overwhelming health systems around the world.
Less severe but not mild. That's what experts want you to say. What makes Omicron less severe? The death toll. It is falling. As cases surge, the death toll is actually coming down. Last week, a little more than 41,000 deaths were recorded. The week before that, almost 45,000 deaths. The bigger casualty right now are the supply chains. There are shortages once again. In the United States, supermarkets are running out of food. In Australia, about 50% of truck drivers have called in sick, so supermarkets are not being able to get the supplies they need. It's a very chaotic world right now. India will start giving out the first booster shot from Monday. Chile is giving out the second booster shot. Can we boost our way out of the pandemic? Well, yes and no. Boosters help, but only so much. Plus, you can't give a booster to everyone every year. It's impractical, A, because there aren't enough doses to go around, and B, because the vaccines are changing with the virus. Major manufacturers are coming up with Omicron-specific vaccines. They're modifying the shots to deal with the new variant. It's a tough race. The virus spreads fast. It mutates constantly. Vaccines won't be able to keep pace. By the time these new shots hit the market, Omicron could well become irrelevant. We hope it does. But then there could be a new variant of concern. Boosters do increase immunity levels, but to fight this wave, we also need an effective containment strategy. WION is now available in your country. Download